Hi, welcome to Posca Club. In today's video we're going to draw a splat and we're going to stick a face on it. Hopefully it's going to look like a piece of bacteria, so we'll stick some other bits around the outside to make it look that way. Okay, so yeah, let's go and do it. These are the materials that you're going to need today. I'm going to draw my splat in these greens. So I've got a dark green and a light green. This is just green, using the Posca name for it, just green, and then this one is light green. But like I said, I'm going to put a face on this one, so I'm going to use ochre and yellow in the eyes, so a darker shade and a lighter shade of yellow. And then in the mouth I'm going to use red and coral, again a dark shade and a light shade. These are all three of these pairs kind of they work well together. Yeah, there's a dark shade and a light shade of each colour. Feel free to mix them up though, it doesn't really matter too much what colours you go with. Even these reds and pinks in the mouth, doesn't matter, go whatever colour you want, whatever colour you've got. A couple of black pens then, safety pens, so I'm using a 3M and a 1M. I might put a few little details in the 1M, not too sure yet, but definitely a 3M for all of our outlining. Okay, right, let's get on with it, shall we? Now pencils are for losers, so let's go straight in with our pen. So whatever colour you're using for the main body, I guess, of our splat, of our bacteria, go and grab those and grab the darker colour first. Okay, we're going to put the darker colour first in. We're going to throw in some little shadows, and then we'll when we put the lighter colour on, we'll chop out those shadows. Okay, so let's go for any kind of blob shape in the middle. Don't think about it too much, just stick a blob in the middle. There we go, there's a blob. The only thing you really need to think about is just making sure you've got a decent amount of space in there for a face. Good thing about doing these kind of blob things is you can put a face wherever you want. You can skew with the eyes and the mouth and stuff. It's not going to make too much difference. Okay, we've got that. So let's go up top and put some features in. So with the eyes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a couple of D shapes for eyes. So let's put one there and one there. They're quite big with them, yeah, so that you've got loads of space to add some colour in those eyes. And then we'll finish off, draw a sausage shape in here somewhere for a mouth. Can be a happy sausage, grumpy sausage, whatever you want, but go and throw in a sausage shape for the mouth there. And that's pretty much it. We'll add some more splats and things around the outside and maybe some different colours around the outside later. But for the time being, that looks really good. Right, let's zoom in a little bit. What we're going to do now is start adding some shadows and features to our piece. There we go. So yeah, imagine like light sources coming in from this direction. So around here is going to be loads of little shadows. So what we're going to do is just thicken out some of these areas. Look, around there, let's thicken that out. Around the bottom there. See how it's just these parts of the line that are facing this bottom right. They're the only bits I'm thickening out. These bits that go up the side here, because technically that's facing this way down here. We don't really need to thicken that bit out too much. Let's carry on up here. Let's just thicken that out across there. Just, yeah, throw in some shadows roughly where you think they're going to be. Go bigger than you really want to, because we are going to go in with the lighter pen and make some of these shadows disappear eventually. So just throw them in slightly bigger than you think you need. That looks okay to me. That does. Right, let's go and put some colour inside the eyes and the mouth next. So we'll start off with the mouth because we've got some teeth, tongue, and back of the throat in the mouth. So what I would do is I'd just go and grab a thin black pen. Let's just go and whack in some random teeth first. Put in whatever teeth you want. I'm going to go a bit weird for this one. I'm going to put one tooth there. I'm going to put one tooth just there. So one at the top, one at the bottom. You put a whole row of teeth in at the top and bottom, whatever you want. I'm leaving a fair amount of space in there because I want to put a tongue in there as well. Okay, whilst we're waiting for that to dry, we're always just going to keep moving around our artwork as we're waiting for bits to dry. Okay, so whilst we're waiting for that to dry, let's go and get into the eyes. Now, if you remember, I was going to use yellow for my eyes. So I've got an ochre and yellow. We're going to use the darker shade first, so it's the ochre shade first. All we're going to do with that is just put a little stripe across the top of our eye. Across there, look. And all that's going to do is it's going to make the eyes look like they're a bit further inset, like a little shadow across the top of the eyes there. Don't worry about getting the edges all neat. We can tidy that up later when we put the black outlines on. For the time being, that's good enough. Right, let's get into the mouth now. These are my colours for the mouth. I'm using red and coral pink. Coral's going to be the colour for the tongue. So that one's the colour for the tongue. And then I'll use red as the colour for the back of the mouth, okay? So what I'm going to do is when I'm colouring, I usually like to do the back first and then bring it forward. So I'm going to use the red first for the back of the mouth, but I'm going to draw in roughly where the tongue is going to live, okay? So this is kind of where the tongue's going to live. It's going to be like a bouncy line, just 2 bounces, maybe going from about there and then behind that tooth, coming out about there, yeah? Let's go and colour in the rest of this back of this mouth in with this red colour. Again, don't worry about the edges being a little bit messy for the time being. We're at that stage, we're just kind of chucking colour on for the time being. Don't want to get too stressed out with getting things just right now. There's plenty of time for that. Okay, let's get back into those eyes, this time with the yellow or the lighter shade of whatever colour you're using for the eyes. And let's go and put in some yellow down the bottom there, look. Again, really messy around the edges. Don't stress, we can tidy all that up later. That'll be fine. We'll finish off the inner parts by going into the mouth. So this time we want to grab that coral pink. Let's go and put that tongue in. Obviously not going through the tooth there. Leave the tooth popping out. Awesome. Right, last bit to do then on this is to colour in the rest of our character with this light green. Whatever the lighter colour was that you used for the character, we've used green and light green here. So we've already put the shadow in with the green. Let's go in with the light green now. So essentially everything on here that is white, apart from the teeth, is going to be coloured in with this light green. But we also want to get rid of some of these single lines. See this green line we've got over here? Let's try and get rid of some of that as well. And we're going to use it as an opportunity to taper the ends of some of these shadows. So what I'll do is I'm just going to get right close in, like this bit here. I'm going to show you what I mean by tapering on this section here, okay? So what we'll do is we're just going to go over that green line, bring it into the inside there, and back on the green line again. Just colouring a little bit around the edge there, just so you can see what it's going to look like. And you can see how we've got that real nice little looking shadow there, where it's tapered at that end, it's tapered at that end. That's what we're going to do. And getting rid of those green lines around there, okay? Right, let's have a little go at that then. So there we go. Let's finish off the rest. So be careful where you put your hands. Try not to put it into any wet areas. My preference is usually to outline first. Remember, we're going on the inside of these shadows. Like I say, I like to outline first so that when it comes to colouring in, I haven't got to think too much about it. So let's outline these eyes. And you can see we're already starting to tidy up around the eyes a little bit by just going over those lines. Let's go around the mouth as well. Again, just tidying up, making that dark green line disappear. That's why I don't mind doing my pencil lines or my guidelines with the Posca pen, because I know they're all going to just disappear eventually anyway. Okay, let's colour in the rest of this character. Now, one thing you'll probably notice on my piece here is that as I'm colouring in, it isn't giving quite the opaque finish that I'd want, like especially down here. Like you can see like little white bits showing through of the sketchbook. That's just where this all that really is where I've not primed the pen enough. So you remember priming the pen is all about shaking it, mix up the paint that's in the barrel first, shaking it and then pressing the nib down several times, scribbling on a scrap bit of paper in order to get your pen fully working. You do want to spend a little bit of time doing that before you do any drawing, especially if you don't draw regular. But if you don't do that, it's not the end of the world. All you're going to do is you're going to get a slightly transparent finish to your artwork. My suggestion in this instance is just wait for it to dry and then go and give it another coat. Don't try and colour over it while it's still wet, because all you're going to be doing is just moving wet paint around. But as soon as you wait for it to dry, give it another coat. It's like giving it a double dose. You want to think more like a painter and decorator than an artist, so you treat that first coat as like priming. So don't forget, as you're colouring in, just press nice and gently. You don't want to press hard. You don't need to press hard. Nice and gentle. Let the paper touch the pen almost, rather than the other way around. One section at a time, move on. Try not to scribble in when you're colouring in. Just do one section at a time. Move on, do that next section until you've got the whole thing finished like that. Doesn't look much at the moment, that's fine. Let's just zoom out, show you what it looks like. That's all we've got at the moment, just a little weird little splat. Hopefully we can turn this into a bit of bacteria. Yeah, and we'll put some more splats around the outside, I think. In fact, that's what we'll do now, shall we? Whilst we're waiting for that to dry, let's go and put in some more splats. So my suggestion is let's do those splats with this green pen again. And we're just going to go around the outside edge and throw in some blobs all over the place. Now clump them together. Something like that. Let's have one going off the page. Look. Don't have to be perfect circles. Can go for kidney bean shapes. But like I say, try and clump them together a little bit. Rather than looking at that thinking, right, there's space there, there's space there. Don't do that, because all you're going to do is create like a pattern. Everything's going to be evenly spaced, which looks a bit weird. What you want to do is clump them together. So rather than seeing space there and space there, just go and think, well, okay, I'm going to put one down here. I'm going to put one up here. You see how we're just clumping them together, trying to make them look a little bit more natural. There we go. We've got some big ones and some small ones. We can add some more in later, but that's good for the time being. Let's go and throw in some shadows on these. So you remember how we did those shadows just down the bottom right of all these lines. Essentially, the thicker you do these lines, the more the higher the blob is going to look. If you go right to the edge, it's going to look like it's quite flat. Here we go, just adding those shadows everywhere you can. Don't think about it too much, just throw them in. The whole point is that we'll tidy them all up a little bit later. And just remember, it's the bottom and the right hand side of all these blobs that we're adding these shadows to. And what would look really cool is adding these, adding some different colours in there as well. You don't have to just stick with the greens. I'm just going to go with the greens because I like a limited palette. Plus, I don't want you to feel like you have to get a million different colours to participate in this. You can just have a few colours. That'll be fine. Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to go into the face with the black lines, and we're going to put in some features in that face. We're going to tidy up in there. Now, worth remembering that as we put these black lines in, that we will go in with this green again and taper out some of these black lines to tidy them up, okay? So don't worry if these black lines don't look great right from the start. As usual, they're not supposed to look great from the start, it's fine. Okay, let's go and get into the eyes. First thing we'll do in the eyes is a line across the top. Now what you'll notice with this line across the top is it goes a little bit further than the actual D shape of the eyes. Yeah, we'll go a little bit further each side, and then what we'll do is we'll put a line up on each side as well, knowing that all of those bits will taper out a little bit later. It's one of my favourite ways of drawing eyes, those little L shapes. Okay, let's go underneath. This is where we're tidying things up, look. So all that dodgy colouring in that we did is just going to hide behind these black lines now. That's looking pretty nice, but what we will also do, let's just put in some other black lines that we can taper out. So coming from the middle of the eyes, we're going to do some big lines. So watch this, let's just curl that out to about there. Curl it out to about there. And then on the outside, we'll just do some small ones. Knowing that the ends of those lines we will taper out, we'll make them look sharper and nicer. All around here, look, all these bits we're going to taper out. And it will just add a level of professionalism to our artwork. Okay, let's get in the mouth then. So we're going to double line around the mouth this time. Go around it once, go around it twice. What you might notice on mine, you might just be able to see that on that bottom line. On that bottom line, when I went round it twice, it kind of just scraped off a little bit of the paint that was on there underneath. The main reason for that was because the flow of the 3M had just stopped, so the paint had stopped flowing out of it. So just be aware that your 3M will do that a little bit. And you can fix it like I just did, where you just give it a bit of time to dry, go over it again, prime your pen, make sure it's working on a scrap sheet of paper or card. Okay, let's go around these teeth now. Just bringing those black lines back to the front. Around the tongue. Now what we want to do when we go around the tongue is we want to add a little flick in the middle of the tongue. Like, watch this. Go a little bit further just there into that part of the tongue. What a difference that makes, yeah. Okay, let's go and throw in a few little lines around here. So let's put in. We've got a wide mouth, so we can put like these shapes around the outside. Maybe even a little tiny one there in the bottom lip as well. And again, don't worry about those lines. They are going to be tapered out, so we can tidy them up quite a lot later. Last thing to do then in there with this black pen before we go and start colouring in the outside is let's go and put in a little tonsil. Something like that. Yeah, you see how what we're doing there is we're just giving that mouth loads and loads of layers, because you've got the skin at the front, you've got then the teeth, then you've got the tongue, then you've got the back of the mouth, and then you've got all the way down the throat. So essentially you've got 5 layers coming out in that mouth. How's it looking? That's not looking too bad at all. Right, whilst we wait for that to dry, we are going to give it an outline around there, but whilst we wait for that to dry, let's just quickly go and colour in these other bits that we've got around the outside. So we've done the shadow colours. We're going to go in with a light green now and do the highlight colour. So same technique as before. Let's outline it. Outline the area that you want to colour in. Careful around the edge of the sketchbook that you don't colour on a page underneath. And then let's go and throw some colour on. Now with these bits, get rid of that line at the top, leave a little bit of that shadow. Look at that. I really like doing circles in this way. Let's do the same with this one, look. Neat way of just adding a bit of depth, a bit of shape, a bit of volume, I guess, to our shapes. Let's keep on going. Let's work your way down. So anything with these shapes that is not coloured in already, all the white areas, just go and colour those in. Just getting rid of as much of that line as you can around the top. Just a few more blobs down here, and you can go crazy with these blobs. Put on as many or as few as you want. Go for loads of small ones, go for just a few big ones. Whatever you think looks good, just stick with that. It's whatever you think looks good, but also what you enjoy drawing as well. If you enjoy drawing this kind of thing, cutting out the shadows, then do it a little bit more. If you don't, then find something else that you do enjoy. I'm a big fan of that your artwork should be stuff that you enjoy as well as looks good. You know, you want to finish it and think, right, I'm really pleased with how that looks, but you also want to have enjoyed that process as well. So for some people that is like they enjoy colouring in, some people just enjoy, you know, texture work. Some people just like a black outline and that's it. You find your way. How are we getting on with that? There you go, look. That's looking like some blobs. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in a black outline now around the rest of our character. Black outlines, and then we'll taper some of those lines off. We might even add in some like weird bits to our blob as well. Could be worth doing. You'll notice one of the previous drawing tutorials was how to draw bacteria. This is kind of taken from that. But in that bacteria piece there was loads of like attachments and appendages on there as well, which we probably won't. I don't know, I might do a little bit. We'll see how we get on for time. We're 24 minutes in already, so we'll see. Okay, let's go around the outside of this character. I've waffled on enough to make sure everything is dry before I go touching stuff again. And yeah, we're just going to outline everything now. So let's start at the top, double lining everything we do. Oops. Don't forget, wonky lines are good. Keep your pen primed so it's nice and wet. So just go and get on that scrap piece of cardboard and just give it a quick press. Send the nib into the barrel to collect some fresh paint. There you go, it's looking nice. Probably could have added like a little drop shadow with the light grey. I'll do that next time. That'd look nice. Just imagine a little drop shadow. So you've got the shadow on the actual shape, but then you've got the shadow that's being cast by the shape. We could have just put a little bit of grey around there. So there you go. You can see that when one of the main reasons I double line everything I do is, one is because I think it looks really cool, but the other is because it helps me cover over any mistakes that I might make. So like you can just about see there, look, I've got a little bit of green hanging out on the outside of that black line. Same with just there, look, I've got a little bit of white hanging out on the other side of that black line as well. They shouldn't really be there. So what I can do is, as I go over it again, double lining, I'm making it wonky. I'm also using it as an opportunity to tidy up any messy bits that I've done as well. So that first line, just to get your eye in, second line to tidy up. Okay, one more time, let's just bring it home here. The reality is, where you've got shadows, you can afford to go quite thick with your lines where you've got shadows. So down here, if your line is a little bit thicker down here, doesn't matter. It'll actually look better if it is a little bit thicker. Put prime on a scrap sheet of card. Sometimes it's worth kind of just experimenting and see how wonky you can get with your lines before it starts to look weird. I think you'd be surprised at how much wonkiness you can put in. Some of my friends who are full-time artists get away with the most audacious lines, big fat chunks in their lines, because they've turned it into a feature. Rather than seeing it as a mistake, they've turned it into a feature, something that they become known for. There we go, so black lines are done. Right. Usually when I'm drawing, I have like 4 stages. 4 stages of any drawing, okay? They're split into halves. So we've got first 2 stages, second 2 stages. First 2 stages are guidelines and colouring in. They're all about making a mess. Don't get stressed about anything you're doing in that section. Guidelines and colouring in. Then the third stage and the fourth stage are all about tidying up. So it's outlining and finishing touches. So we're kind of in this like outlining, this third stage of just tidying up. What we're going to do now is just whip into that finishing touches stage. So let's get in a little bit closer with the face. Grab this light green, and I'll show you what I mean by finishing touches. So straight away, the main reason I use Posca pens is because you can do this kind of stuff with them. So watch this. You see that we've got these like fat lines across the top. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just do this eye, and you can compare it to that eye and see which one's better. But see, we've got these fat lines across the top. you just go over them and just cut them out. Look at that sharp line that we've got coming in there now. Just around there, just this bit as well. Just bringing out those real sharp lines. There you go. So now you look at that. I mean, that took seconds to do, but you look at this side, this eye compared to this eye. For me, it just looks so much better because it's got that little bit of finesse to it, that little bit of attention to detail. So let's go and do the other side. We're invested in this technique now, so let's go and do the other side. We're just going to take out loads of bits everywhere. Around the edge of the eyes, any line that's got like a fat end to it, just go and taper it out, tidy it up. Look at that. Looks much better. Let's get into these lips as well. Let's taper out all of those. And this is where you will need to, when you put your original lines on or your original shapes on, you'll need to go quite fat with them, because you know that you are going to colour over quite a lot of it, and a lot of it is going to disappear. Whilst we're there, whilst we're tapering in, let's just go into that tongue. Remember that little flick off we did in the tongue? Just taper the end of that off as well, give it a nice sharp finish. There we go, beautiful. Now, of course, you can do that loads of times. You can go and add more lines in that you can taper off. Totally up to you on that one. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add those little appendages that we talked about, just to see if we can make this character look a little bit weirder. And again, one of my favourite things about Posca pens is the fact that you can do this. So let's do it, shall we? So go and grab that light green, and what we're going to do is just think, right, okay, let's have a weird bit coming out here, like that. Let's colour that in. Make sure your black is dry, so when you go over that black line disappears like that. Let's put another one over here. Let's have this one kind of pointing up a little bit. When you're colouring over the black line, just press really gently. If you press hard, there's more chance that you're going to stir up the paint, and that's not what we want. Let's put a little one here. Remember what I was saying about clumping them together, so let's clump one just there as well. Lovely. I like that. And then what we're going to do with that is we're just going to go and outline those. Give them a few seconds to dry. We're going to outline those, add some, maybe add some like openings to them as well. It'll make more sense when we do it. So here we go. Let's go and do this one first, because this one's just about dry. So as you do this, we're going to, in fact, I'll get closer in. As you're doing this, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the pen line goes in to the head. So it's going to start about here, look, all the way around, back in, finish about there. I've tapered that off beautifully already, look. You see how fine and sharp that is? If you accidentally do something like that, then make the most of it, you know, leave it in there. But if you don't, if you're struggling with that, then just give it the best outline you can, knowing that you can tidy it up later. Okay, let's go and do, this one's dry now, let's put this one in as well. Let's pan out a little bit so you can see these weird bits at the top. And we've got this last one down here as well. Lovely. And then, like I said, what we're going to do at the tip of those, we're just going to add some little openings. Let's do that. Let's put in a little curve like that. Look, little curve going the opposite way around to whatever the curve is on the end of our knobbly bit. Go and add those, and look at how those just look like a little opening happening up there. Okay, let's give that a little while to dry before we go putting some extra stuff in there. Whilst we're doing that, let's go and take the green here and just put some little spots here and there on our character. This is that adding finesse bit. Look, just find a few gaps, put in a few spots. What a difference that makes to our character, just building up a little bit of texture there. Do the same on all the other blobs and spots that we've got knocking around the place. Just going to make it look like there's something going on here. Like this one. So yeah, what I did then was I just take a step back from your artwork, just have a little glance over it and see like what looks right, what doesn't look right. Things like this part of the head, that looks a bit too plain to me, so I will probably just whip in a little spot there and a little spot there, just because it looked a bit plain. Definitely these bits look a bit plain, but what I want to do on those, I want to taper those out first before I go adding any extras to that. So let's go and grab that light green, same way as we did with all the other bits of tapering in. Let's just go around the edges of those lines, chopping them out. There we go. And you can't get a line that thin. If you tried to draw that line, you wouldn't be able to get it that thin. Posca don't make a pen thin enough for doing lines like that. The only way you're really going to get that is by using this technique of cutting in. Let's do the same with those little holes that we had at the end. Look, just a real delicate touch in there, just the smallest of touches. Of course, waiting for it to dry as well, that's an important part. Now remember I said I thought some of these looked a little bit plain, so let's go and put some spotty bits on there. Like that. Okay, we're on the finishing straight here, so let's you know, have some fun with it now. Experiment with what you want to make it look like. The two things I'm going to do now, just to finish this off, is one is a few little black spots around the eyes. I always like that. Then I'm going to go around the outside and just put a few little black spots around there as well. And probably what about some little white bits? So there you go, look at that, a few little black spots around the eyes, that looks nice. Where's a black pen? There it is. Yeah, again on the outside, a few little black spots around the outside, especially look, places like this. Look, I don't know if you can see them, but I've got a few little smudges going on there, so I'll just use this opportunity to put these ink splats on, or paint splats on, to cover up any kind of mess that I've made. 9 times out of 10, if you see these spots on one of my pieces of artwork, it's usually covering something. It's usually hiding a mistake somewhere. Again, look at how I'm clumping them together. One big, one small, 2s and 3s. that kind of thing. Scan back, have a little look. Anything not look quite right? This bit up here looks a bit plain. Lovely. Let's add some eyes. Where's let's have it looking right at us. So one there, little half circle just hanging off the top there. That looks nice. Now, one pen I didn't suggest that we used at the start of the session, which I really think we should do, is a white. So go and see if you've got a working white, and let's just go and put a little tiny bit of white in. It's always worth having a white handy just for these little tiny touches. And so the kind of thing, all I'm going to do with the white is I want to make the tongue look a little bit wetter. If you wanted to, you could go around where the reflections would be, where the highlights would be across the bacteria, but I just want to make the tongue look a little bit wetter, so I'm just going to go in there with a bits like that. Look. A couple of little dots in there, and then last thing into the eyes, little dot. Oh. Came out quite big in the end, but that's all right. I think we can get away with that. That looks nice. There we go. That's finish. Quick signature. And I like how we've drawn that little bacteria piece. So yeah, use the prompt cards that are coming out in the bacteria activity pack to see if you can do the same kind of principle as that, but loads and loads of different types of bacteria, different characters, and then start coming up with your own bacteria characters. There's no rules for these. You can make them as weird looking as you want. You don't have to get the perfect shape. The more imperfect it is, the better the shape is. Okay, nice one. Thank you very much for taking part. I'll see you in the next video.